Get ready for more valuable financial insights from Northern California's premier retirement income planners, Dan Ahmad and Jim Files, owners of Peak Financial Freedom Group. For more information, go to peakfin.com. And now, here's Dan and Jim.
We'd like to welcome you to the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. I'm Dan Ahmad. I'm here with my partner, Jim Files. And we'd like to welcome everyone to the show, especially our loyal listeners that listen week after week. Some of you have been listening to us for years. And we want to make sure you know that at any time, feel free, give us a call at pound 250, say the keyword money if you'd like to meet and have some of your questions answered and really develop an actual plan. There's going to be no cost to meet. There's going to be no cost for us to develop your plan. We're going to give you your plan. You get to take it home. And even if you don't become our client, you get to keep your plan, which can help you learn more about how do you make the best decisions about your money. You can listen to our podcast. You can either go to our website and listen to our recorded radio shows, but you also can listen to our podcast on different channels. You can go to our YouTube channel, Peak Financial YouTube channel. It has tons of videos. We add more almost on a weekly basis for education and to make sure you have resources that can teach you to make the best decisions about your money. And again, make sure that if you have these types of questions, if you're worried about your money, which most people are, we really enjoy sitting in front of people, answering the questions, and then building a plan for those people who've been successful in saving money for retirement, because they've been very successful in saving, but they have no idea how to use their assets now at retirement to avoid large losses and then to produce income at a very high level that will not run out for as long as they live. Why don't you start with a quote, Jim, and then I'm going to go into our big topic today, and that's going to be something that's really not even talked about, even though it's huge in the financial industry, and that is, what will the Fed lowering interest rates do to your ability to generate enough income at retirement time?
This is a great quote, Dan, from a gentleman called Milton Friedman. He was a motivational speaker, and he says, inflation is the one form of taxation that can be imposed without legislation. And that dovetails right into what you're going to talk about, which is income and interest rates and the Fed lowering interest rates, right? Because going forward, we all know by now that the Feds are going to lower interest rates. Inflation has impacted all of our budgets substantially over the last 2.5 or 3 years, which means that if you have a managed portfolio right now and you are retired, the safe withdrawal rate is 3%. You should not take out more than 3% in the form of income, which is $30,000 a year on $1 million, or you have mathematically the probability of still running out of money. What if we could show you how to get out 6%, 7%, 8%, or 9%, or even 10% of income on a guaranteed basis, Dan? Would that help with inflation, and would that mitigate the risk we have with the interest rates going down over the next 2 or 3 years by the Feds?
I think then maybe I'll readjust our topics. We'll start with inflation, because I think that's a great thing you brought up there, and then we'll go into what lowering interest rates could cause. So inflation, we're always told the best way to fight inflation is to invest in the stock market. Well, that's true if the stock market goes up, but how in the heck are you going to be able to take out more income off of an asset that goes down on average 39% every 5 years since 1929? It doesn't make any sense mathematically. And I'm a math guy. So inflation, the way to fight inflation, number one is just the conservative method is to make sure whatever income you're getting from the assets will never run out. The second thing to do is to try to make sure your income has the opportunity to grow. But there's even a bigger way. And what we found in 60 years of combined experience, not one of our clients has been negatively affected by inflation in a way that hurts their lifestyle if they allow us to design a plan that does one thing, and that is to create excess monthly income after taxes above their budget. It's the only way to fight inflation, because everyone always says, well, how am I going to keep pace with inflation? That's the worst way to try to fight inflation. You do not try to keep up with inflation, because we don't know what the heck it's going to run at. But let's look at a client. I think this is one client you worked on recently. I think they had like an $8,000 budget because they had their house paid off, and that included travel, et cetera. And they needed $8,000 after taxes. And that's what they were drawing off of their pensions or Social Security asset income. And they had $8,000, but they felt tight every month. You designed the plan and it jacked their income up to $12,000 a month after taxes, gives them $4,000 excess monthly income. Well, one thing it does, of course, it makes them feel more comfortable. 2, it allows them to spend more money. 3, allows them to save or invest money. 4, it allows them to gift money. But more importantly, it allows them to now fight inflation, because how long is it going to take their $8,000 budget to grow to $12,000 more if it ever does catch up to that?
Well, the impact is tremendous because they can see this in writing. It's just math. We're selecting financial instruments that will do this. In many cases, it's guaranteed income for that $12,000 a month, which means Social Security. In this example, they had a small pension, and then we put enough money in the guaranteed income product to get them that $12,000, so that when inflation was hitting all of us, it was hitting their budget too, and it will hit all of our budgets in the future. They have enough excess cash flow on an after-tax basis of $4,000 a month, $48,000 a year right now today. They're never going to worry about inflation, Dan, ever.
They won't, because there's two things. One, it was such a big amount over their budget, which is awesome. That's what you want to create. And this client is only going to be in about a 17% combined federal and state tax bracket, which is awesome. That means they're going to keep 83% of their money. But what also happens is, let's say, I don't remember their age, but let's say they're 65 now. And yeah, between now and 75, maybe somewhere mid 80s, they'll travel and do a lot of the things, and costs might go up. But what's going to happen almost guaranteed between 75 and 80 is they're going to start spending less money. Every one of our clients at some point in their life, and the average 90% of them stop spending as much money between 75 and 80, which means, do we need as much income at that point and inflation adjusted?
Of course, we still want the income, right? Because if we have excess income above our budget, even if we reduce our budget costs, we're still going to have inflation. But what do you get to do with that excess income? You can save it, put more money in the bank. If you don't have long-term care insurance, that bank money, as it's growing, because you're putting that excess cash flow in the bank after tax, it makes you feel more settled with, if one of you or both of you need long-term care. Your grandkids may be going to college and you want to help them out. So the excess cash flow not only reduces your stress, but accomplishes a lot of the goals that you may not have thought through, that you're going to run into certain issues in retirement, and you're going to need excess cash flow.
Well, just think about it. It's pretty simple. You're driving around now, your house, your office, listening. Just think about this simple question. That is, if your budget's $8,000 a month to pay for everything, and you actually have $12,000 a month net after tax income, would you then worry as much about your money? Probably not. Would you worry as much about inflation and not being able to pay for things? Probably not. And would you be able to live the lifestyle that you'd always planned to live at retirement? Because by being a good saver, you can learn that it's okay to spend some of the money, because that's why you saved the money for in the first place. That's the key. So if you build the right plan, you won't have to worry about inflation. You won't have to worry about your money running out. And the goal is to always have more money per month than you need to spend. And people say, well, I don't want to pay the taxes. Well, you have to look at it. If we can generate $4,000 of excess monthly income every month, and you're only at a 17% combined federal and state tax bracket, you shouldn't be worrying about taxes in any way, shape, or form, because they're not a big deal at that point. You're keeping 83% of your money.
Well, if you worry about taxes, I promise you, when you die, your kids won't worry about taxes, because they'll spend the money. All those things that you wanted to do and you're worried about taxes, they're not going to worry about it, because the money's going to come to them and they're going to buy what they want to buy. They're going to do what they want to do. And we see this all the time. So you should not worry when you can get 82, 83, or 84% of your money to spend. Yeah, you pay some taxes, but hey, we can't get out of taxes, folks. You can be miserable in retirement and not pay taxes, right? And clip coupons and hope you can get through and not do the things you want to do, or have a plan in place that delineates exactly what your tax is, so you can get comfortable with it, so you can spend that excess cash flow.
Well, and think about it. If you don't spend it, you kind of mentioned it there. If you don't spend it, the kids are going to spend it. If you don't buy the first class airline ticket, I guarantee your kids are going to do it. If you don't buy the Tesla that you want to buy, I guarantee the kids are going to do it. And you just have to decide where it lies as far as what your goals and needs are. And you have to now imperative to understand that you can create a plan that will allow you to spend income at a high level without the income ever running out. And if you could create that plan, why in the heck wouldn't you, if you know it exists? It's because you didn't know that it exists. We're telling you point blank, it exists, and it's something that can be put together. Today, we were planning to talk about just interest rates decreasing, but Jim made a really good comment at the beginning, and it was, well, why are interest rates decreasing? It's because inflation is finally thought to be in moderate control. So now the Fed can drop interest rates, and the Fed has already dropped interest rates 0.5%, which was 10% of the original Fed rate. They're thinking they're going to drop it another 0.5% in the next 2 cuts between now and then either, which is another 10%, which means that we're down 20%. And they think there's going to be 3 to 4 more cuts next year, which could get us down to 3%. Well, it doesn't sound like that much going from 5% down to 3%, but at that point, that means rates have been dropped by 40%.
Yep.
And that's going to trickle down to lower interest rates that we're paying on debts, which is good. But most of our clients are retired and soon to be retired. They don't have debts. Our clients don't have a ton of consumer debts. They don't have credit cards, maybe car loans, but they only do it if they get 0% or 1.9%. And they don't have the home loans, really, most of them. So interest rates they pay isn't going to affect them. What's going to happen? They're going to get hit in the face with significantly lower interest rates earned on CDs, money markets, cash accounts that before we griped because remember they were down to 0.5% just a few years ago. Now they went up to 5. We're so happy. Woo, 5. Well, 5 is going to be a thing of the past really quickly. And if we're basing our asset growth, and more importantly, if we're basing our income off of being able to use those interest rates as a positive, it's going away. So we have to find alternatives that will now allow 2 things. 1, asset growth, but more importantly, to create the income. Because if you go down from 5% to 3% in the bank, and let's say you had $2 million that you wanted to use income from, well, 5% is $100,000, 3% is only $60,000. That's a huge difference. Take $40,000 less, which means you would have been making 67% more prior to the interest rate decline. So we have to find ways now to lock in income. We have to find ways to lock in income payout rates at a very high level for life, because if interest rates continue to go down, it means each year your income you're drawing off of those types of assets that we can't lock in are going to go down. What if at this point we can lock in an income payout rate that's guaranteed for the next 30 years or guaranteed for as long as you live and as long as your spouse lives? And what if those rates literally at this point, depending on how we design the plan, could be anywhere from 7 to 12% guaranteed, depending on when you take the income, for as long as you live. While interest rates are declining, your income payout rates will never decline. Just think about it's a very simple concept. What does that do then to help someone have not just a secure retirement, but live the life they want, knowing that income equals lifestyle?
It will change your life and change your thought process on how you can get through retirement. Because if we can get you a 7% distribution rate versus a 3% distribution rate off of a bank CD right now.
With the 7% guaranteed forever, the bank CD, maybe 1 year or 9 months or whatever it is.
Exactly. So 7%, take $2 million. That's $140,000, right, per year, guaranteed for as long as you live. And if you're married, guaranteed for as long as you both live. And when you die, whatever money is left in the portfolio doesn't get kept by somebody, it goes to your beneficiaries. Versus you ride the interest rates down, which they're going to go down significantly over the next 2 years. Your 5% CD is going to go to 4.5 to 4 to 3.5. It's going to be down to 1.5 or 2 within 2.5 years, we believe. And you're not locked in for life. You're going to ride that interest rate down. And all of a sudden, rather than getting 140,000 in my example in income, if you're at 2% in 2.5 years,
in the bank,
you're getting 40,000, right? It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
But those same rates that we're talking about, they're going to go down too. So the key is capitalize on those while you can.
Because capitalizing now on those, it's capitalizing it for the rest of your life. You know, if you could say you want to lock in a CD rate for the next 30 years, we'd all do it. Well, we can lock in an income payout rate at higher than CD rates currently for life. And I think the big problem though, Jim, that I see, and you and I have talked about this a lot, is people feel like they're going to miss out if they are not going for maximum growth. They think they're going to miss out. Oh, I need to earn these high rates of return. I need to earn 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% rates of return of growth. Well, even if they earn those rates of return, even if they earn a 12% rate of return year after year after year, which I don't think they will, but let's assume that happens, they will never take out the 12% of income.
Never.
They'll never take out the 8 or 6 because they always want that growth. So what you have to now at retirement, it's different than when you were working. When you're working, when you're 30, 40, even 50, it's okay to have that process. My whole goal, my only goal is maximum growth. I don't need the assets for income, right? Now, though, we want you to shift, and we don't want you to shift out of that maximum feeling. We want you to get the most you possibly can, but you have to shift, Jim, from maximum growth into the maximum income mode. And It's just saying now that you've arrived at the point that you get to use your assets for income, because growth is significantly less important during retirement as creating the maximum income.
But the beauty is you can actually get both, and you will potentially get even potentially greater growth by having assets that are protected with no market risk, producing income, because then you can take more risk with those assets theoretically that are in the market.
We'll
So
give you an example and then maybe talk about how
Yeah.
this worked. I had that client, we call him nice guy, him and his wife. I love him. He already feels like he's part of my family. I don't even know why, and he invests completely different than I do. I'm ultra conservative. I call him Mr. Bitcoin. He has $3.2 million in Bitcoin. That's
Yeah.
his assets.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
his assets. And we put a plan together for him where we're going to split half of the assets into a guaranteed income stream,
Mhm.
which will meet every one of their needs, exceeds the amount of income they need, and he gets to keep half. So $1.6 million goes into guaranteed income. $1.6 million he gets to keep in Bitcoin, which he loves and he wants to do that. So how did that work out for just his overall psyche and his happiness?
Well, think about their stress level as a couple. All of a sudden, they have enough guaranteed income that will last for as long as they live. It's never going to be depleted. The income will come in forever and forever and forever. And the husband, in this example, can be as aggressive as he wants to because his income needs are already taken care of.
Well,
So
let me correct you and then keep going.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't the stress level of the couple. It was the stress level of the wife.
Okay, got it. Okay, yeah.
He didn't care.
He didn't care. He was
loved
going
it.
for it, yeah.
It's the wife going, are you flipping kidding? All of our money's in Bitcoin and can crash at any moment.
Yeah. Well, then all of a sudden, when the markets do go down, which they always do, you can, in theory, write it out if you want to, because you have enough income needs coming in on a guaranteed basis to take you through that period of time. Whereby if you don't do that and you have all your money, in this example, in Bitcoins or in the market, and the market go down, you're going to be stressed. You're going to be freaked out, and you're going to probably make a decision that's not prudent at that time because you can't handle the stress any longer, and you're going to need income from your assets. So you can actually get both. You can get your guaranteed income to meet your budget requirements, your entertainment, and your travel, get excess cash flow, and at the same time have enough money deployed into the market to get your growth.
Yeah, I believe our plan for him is and the spouse is to defer the assets, 1.6 million for 5 years, while he's using other assets right now to live off of, and he's going to get about an 11% guaranteed payout forever.
Cool.
So for him, we discussed in depth what is the benefit of an 11% payout versus what you could do being very aggressive investing your money. 11% annually.
Yep.
People strive for that
Yep.
if they're speculative investors.
Yep.
What if we get 11% payout on that $1.6 million guaranteed forever, puts him in a position where he feels like he's maxed out the efficiency of that asset? You're here with Dan Allman and Jim Files, the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. And today we're covering two important subjects. We started with inflation, and then we went into the effects that lowering interest rates by the Fed is going to have on our clients. Our clients aren't the 30-year-old and 40-year-olds buying houses and worried about home mortgage interest rates, even though our kids and grandkids might be in those areas. Our clients are retired or getting ready to retire. They have their house paid off or almost paid off. They're not refinancing. They're not having big mortgages. I'd say probably maybe 1% of our clients have any consumer debt.
Right.
They have almost no consumer debt. So interest rates aren't going to affect them being charged interest rates. They're going to be hurt by lowering interest rates because everyone's grown accustomed to first getting out of those 0% interest rates we used to get in the bank to now, 5% is the norm. We're going to always get 5% in the bank. Well, we're not. Rates will go down because the Fed already lowered the interest rates 0.5%. We think another 0.5% rate cuts coming, and that means it's going to be a direct reflection on what banks are paying. And with our clients, retired or soon to retire, you're listening right now, you might use those assets for two different reasons in the bank. One is safety of principal and accessibility, but you also use it for the interest rate growth and, or more importantly, the income that you can drive off of those CDs or money markets. And if we go from 5% to 3% and you're using just interest off of these things, and let's say someone has $3 million of assets, at that point, their $150,000 of interest from the bank shrinks to $90,000. Still substantial, but $60,000 less, $5,000 less of gross income per month.
Yeah.
What does that do to their budget then?
Well, it's first of all, I think people are beginning to think about it now. They understand rates are going down, and they're doing that math themselves. They're saying, gosh darn it, we've had 2.5 years of higher interest rates, and now we're going to go back to where it was for 15 years, and that's more than likely. But the beauty about this is you can lock in very, very high distribution rates off your assets that exceed that 5% right now. You can get 6, 7, 8, 9% on different financial instruments that will be guaranteed for your life and your joint life if you're married, regardless of what happens to the market and regardless of what happens with bank interest rates. And that's the cool thing right now. You can still get those distribution rates.
No, definitely. And I think that's what you have to now start just looking at as a retiree, soon to be a retiree. We know you want to preserve your assets. You don't want to have big losses. We know for most people, they want to create a decent amount of income off of their assets. Some people will tell us point blank, I'm going to create the maximum income off my assets as long as I don't run out. As long as I don't run out, I'm going to create the maximum. A lot of people will tell us now they want to create more income for themselves to travel. They want to create more income to help their kids and grandkids because the kids and grandkids need help right now. They want to help. I have a lot of clients now coming in saying, I don't want to just leave my money when I'm gone 30 years down the road to charities. I want to help my charities out right now. And all those things then require us to create a plan that gives them enough income, because income is what drives that financial independence to make those types of decisions. And we all want to be there. So people want to preserve their assets. They want to make sure they get enough income off of it. Well, with banks staring us in the face right now saying your rates are going to go down significantly over the next 1, 2, and 3 years, it puts you in a position that the younger you are, the reduction in income affects you significantly more than the older you are.
Yep.
Right? Because when you're younger, you can do the things that you want to do.
I mean, just take an example. Let's just say, assume you have $2 million in your portfolio assets. And let's assume you have money in the bank right now and you're making 5% on some of those assets. And you know it's going to go down. Those interest rates are going down. And let's assume you need at least $50,000 off of your assets and you want that income to be guaranteed. Right now, you could take that $2 million, you could allocate about $800,000 approximately if you're 65 years of age as a couple, and you probably can get $50,000 plus in guaranteed income off of that $800,000. We could put another $200,000 in the bank for you, so it's safe, it's secure, you have some interest rate. And then the $1 million, we can put it in the market and you can take risk with that. But when the market goes down in the future, you're not hostage to worrying about where your income's coming from, because you've locked in this high rate of $50,000 plus on that $800,000 for your entire life, right?
Yeah, awesome. How about this? A quick little plan. I had clients come in and these people had went through the 2000 technology bubble, lost about 65% because they were mostly in tech. They used to work in Silicon Valley, so that's what they were invested. 2008 happened, so they recovered. 2008 happened, they lost another 55%, and they're like, we don't want to go through that anymore. That we've saved $3 million, and they're at age 65 now, and they say, we want to now, we don't have pensions, we want to now create a plan. And they said they didn't want any risk in their plan. And I'm like, okay, are you sure you don't want growth? They, nope. Right now we want income because it's the most important thing to us. We want to travel, etc. We're not sure how long both of us will live, and we want to do these things now. So we put a plan together on $3 million where for the first 5 years, we're going to use, and we're actually going to keep $1 million in the bank. Mm-hmm. And for the first 5 years, we're going to take out $160,000 a year. Assuming they earn a 3 or 4% interest rate, they'll still have about $150,000 left in the bank at that point, which is significant liquidity for them. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to use a $2 million deferred income plan that if we just defer the $2 million for 5 years, they'll be getting over $160,000 of income per year. So they now have $160,000 pension type income plan for the rest of their life with 0% market risk. Yep. And those numbers I quoted are net of all fees. Yep. Think about what that does to their life now.
And think about what you've been doing for the last 40 years while you were working. You were working to generate enough income off your assets when you're retired so you can do exactly what they're doing. You're growing your portfolio between 25 years of age and 65, if you're going to retire at 65, so that you could use those assets for income. But people don't know how to convert those assets into income. They think they always have to be just in the market and you hope it's going to work. You can actually get guaranteed income, which is really, really cool and shocking to most clients when they actually see how this works, Dan.
And, you know, it's shocking. And I think it's almost too good to be true when some of them see it. And it's because very few firms out there just specialize working with retirees and soon to be retirees like we do that specialize in stage 2 of retirement planning, which is asset preservation against large losses and creating income that's going to be dependable, that'll last for as long as you live. Very few firms focus on that. They like to work with all the clients out there to help them accumulate assets, be aggressive with the funds, not really focus on income, and not providing a written plan. Well, if that's you and you like that mode, then we're not the firm for you. If you want the other side, which is planning and everything in writing, we are the firm to work with. You're back with Dan Allman and Jim Files. This is the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. And today we're talking about two subjects, which are painful at this point. One is inflation and the fight against inflation. And the second is the Federal Reserve lowering interest rates and how that's going to affect us. I know a lot of people are so optimistic and positive. Okay, rates are going down. That's a great thing. Well, for most of our clients who are retired or soon to be retired, it's not a great thing because our clients don't have a lot of debt. If they have a mortgage, they locked it in at 2 or 3% a while ago, and they don't have to worry about refinancing. They're not buying big new houses with big new mortgages. But they do have to worry about now the lowering of the interest rates associated with the Fed lowering it that they're going to be earning in the bank, CDs, money markets, T-bills, any of those things. So it causes some big problems. And that's what today's show is about, is to talk about the difference between where interest rates are and where they're going to go. And more importantly, an alternative, because interest rates in some people's lives create the income they need from those assets for their lifestyle. Well, that's just an income flow. So if we forget about interest rates and think about income flows, meaning what percent of income flow can your current asset base create? And right now, most people have very low. I think if they come in here and they're not our clients, they have 2-3% maximum income flows coming from their assets, right?
Exactly.
If we put the plan together, we can get their total assets to create 6, 7, even 8% total income flow off their total assets.
The beauty about it is that if you look at the psychology with people over the last 2.5 years, as you get close to retirement or in retirement, you choose to put money in the bank because of 2 reasons. Number one, you can get a higher interest rate. You can get 4, 5, 5.5%, right? Which is fantastic. But number two, and it's just as important, you were afraid of the market, you were afraid of risk, and the money in the bank was safe, right? So it's safe, secure, and you got 4, 4.5, or 5% interest. But all of a sudden, those interest rates are going to go down. So yes, the bank is still going to be safe for having your money, but your interest rate is going to plummet over time. There are financial instruments we're using every single day whereby your money is safe and secure, like bank money. Nobody's ever lost money in these instruments that we're talking about. And you can still get 5, 6, 7, 8, even 9%, depending on when you want to use your assets, locked in for your life. So you still get that safety of the bank in that you have assets that if the market goes down, you're not going to lose money, but you get to lock in those rates for the next 20 or 30 years, Dan, or your entire life.
Well, let's do a quick example. Exactly what you're talking about. What if someone's done a really good job saving money and it's a couple in between them, they've saved $3 million. We see, people have done this, but I think everyone thinks everyone has done that. But when we see these people, we did a demographic research through a large company here, and they had told us that of the 4.7 million people in the significantly greater Sacramento area, which goes out about an hour and a half, there's only about 117,000 people that have saved more than $2 million that they have documentation on. So if you save that amount, you've been successful. Now you better make sure you're making the right decisions. Well, the goal then is to decide. You do not let your advisor decide. An advisor can help you through the process, but we have to decide how much money do you want to keep liquid to make sure that funds are available and you're safe, that's accessible at any time. Then we have to decide the second one is we have to decide how much of your assets do you want to use to create income at a very high level that's guaranteed for as long as you live to meet and exceed your budget. Once we decide that, then we know how much can be left to put in the growth bucket, because you really need all 3 buckets.
Yep, you do.
You really need liquidity, you need the guaranteed income, and you need the growth.
Yep.
Now you have the best plan. As fiduciaries, we're going to recommend in all cases for advisory clients what's in your specific best interest at all times. And it's better to have these 3 buckets, because think about it. If we can have, let's say if we had $3 million, I might have someone have $300,000 in the bank. That wouldn't be outlandish, 10%. We might have $1.5 million that we want to create guaranteed income from, which we can take income immediately, or we can defer it for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever fits. And that would then still allow me to have about $1.2 million in the growth bucket.
Yep.
And in that portfolio, what if then, if the market crashed 50%, what if we can get them a significant amount of income coming off of it? But what if then we can, in writing, tell them the probability of their loss in a 50% stock market loss would be about 5% instead of 50%.
It's killer. And people, once they see this in writing and they understand the concept and the philosophy, they realize that they are in retirement or close to retirement, and they want both. They want guaranteed income and they want growth, but they want money in the bank. They can do all that. They can do that, and they can get distribution rates right now, if you use the guarantee product, that are significantly higher than distribution rates out of a bank and distribution rates you should take off a managed portfolio.
Well,
So-
think about it. Then everyone wants their assets to grow. They want their assets to be preserved against large losses. They want to create the biggest amount of income they can off of their assets without running out. And they want to leave the rest of the money to the beneficiaries. You talk about this all the time. Well, if you just have a base portfolio of stocks, bonds, stock funds, bond mutual funds, how in the heck are you going to do all of those things with that type of portfolio?
You cannot do it. You cannot do it.
You can do it with the 3 buckets.
Yes.
You cannot do it with that type of portfolio.
Not with that. No, I mean, you're hostage to the stock market. You're hostage to risk. You're hostage to stress. You're hostage to having to regulate your income based on what the market does. And you're hostage to looking at your iPhone every single day, seeing if the market's going up or down, and are you going to make it through retirement?
Well, and just give us a call, pound 250, say the keyword money. We have the keys to unlock those handcuffs that Jim is talking about, you being hostage. We will help you unlock those hostage handcuffs, and we'll get you into a lot better financial position.
For more information about Peak Financial Freedom Group or to schedule a consultation, just go to our website, peakfin.com. That's peakfin.com. And thanks for watching.